Okay, guys, Panzer J back here in Operation GoldenEye. We're at turn 18. And I believe that is it July or January of 45? Let's take a look real quick. January 45. So we've decided this is the last turn in the game. Things are completely inevitable at this point. The Axis are way out in front. I thought maybe a couple of turns ago that if the game went to around 20, maybe even 21, we'd have a chance. But you got to tip your hat to both Boston Bruce and GW36 enthusiasts. They kind of countered what we were trying to do here. Bruce has been on the march, forever, it seems like. Knights Templar tried to throw a little bit of a scare into him in the Pacific, and I thought it'd work for a little bit, but Bruce has went ahead and countered that pretty well. I'm not sure that Knights Templar's fleet could go toe-to-toe with the ships that Bruce has in the Pacific right now, so that kind of squashed what we might have had going on in the Pacific to put some pressure on Japan. And then over in Europe, GW36 enthusiast was backing out of Russia, so I thought maybe Madman Dan could apply some pressure, maybe even think about breaking out into Romania and the Balkans. But GW36 countered that and is threatening Moscow again. So not really any chance that anybody but the Axis are going to win this. I believe Boston Bruce in his video added up the victory points. I haven't even completely updated either Bruce or Madman Dan's turns, knowing this is the last turn in the game. I'm just going to play out my turn. That's it. None of their attacks or non-combat moves or anything like that affect what I'm doing. So the board doesn't look exactly how it should be at the end of both of their turns. But again, I think Boston Bruce said that the Axis have 21, the Allies have 7, and the Comintern have a single point as far as victory points go. So really no shot at being able to pull any kind of victory out, even if the game was to extend a few more turns. I'm going to do my attacks this turn just like I was going to prior to us deciding to end the game. So none of these attacks are like, last minute thrown together just because I know the game's ending. These are all attacks I was going to do anyway. So I'm going to treat this turn just like the game was possibly still going to go on. And there'd be a little bit of glimmer, hopefully, if these attacks go well in France. But the problem is that now that the Germans have kind of regained control of things in the East, they have so much money that now potentially the greater threat to them would be coming from the UK and the US in Europe. So he'll just focus all his attention towards us. And I definitely don't have strong enough forces to, withstand the full weight of everything Germany can throw at me. So, things might look a little bit better at the end of the UK portion of this turn, but realistically, really no chance to pull out a victory. So we're going to go ahead and concede at the end of turn 18 here. But like I said, again, I'm going to go ahead and do everything this turn like I would normally do. And then I'm also going to do a little bit of a recap at the end of this, just my impressions on the game. Usually I do a separate video, but again, knowing things are going to end, I'm just going to go ahead and wrap things up, at least from the UK and French perspective, at the end of my turn. So this video might be a little bit longer. And then I'm going to tear it down and look forward to the next game. We've already got a few guys lined up. I don't think we have a full lineup yet, though, so if anybody out there is interested, I know that Madman Dan and I are signing on for the next game, and I believe Board Gaming Bro is going to join us, but I think at this point we're the only 3, so anybody out there watching interested in getting involved in a YouTube war, leave a comment below, and we can invite you in and hopefully have a good time in the next YouTube war. So on to the UK. So we got our tech rolls. And obviously, we're not going to finish any of these. We've got advanced artillery and jet fighters both at stage 2. And then we're not on the board for anything else. So we're going to go for those 2 plus heavy armor. I got some new dice I'm going to try it with. Maybe my luck will improve. Got these are the new frosted dice that HBG's got on their site in a few different colors. So we'll try and see how these go. So let's go for advanced artillery first at stage 2. That takes a 7 or higher. And a 4, so the new dice is working well for me. How about heavy armor 8 or higher? An 11, so we succeed there. And then finally jet fighters 8 or higher. A 3, so 1 out of 3. So I guess the new dice didn't bring a whole lot of luck. So we go on the board with heavy armor. And that's the way the tech chart's going to finish for the UK. So we finished off, 6 techs. So not too bad. 6 out of 16 we finished on the tech chart. So, and pretty much the most important ones you need as the UK. And finally, just show you guys real quick, we got some new coasters too. These are actually from Combat Miniatures, another site similar to like HBG and I Will Never Grow Up. So they're a little bit thicker than the ones from HBG, and they obviously have different pictures on the front there, not just like the national symbol. So we got the Germans, we got the Japanese, we got Italy, UK, Far East Command, ANZAC, the French, the US, the KMT, and Russia. So I'm going to be using those from now on to like stage the income for each nation that we collect at the end of each turn there. So on to purchases for the UK. So we have $36. So 10 of it is we are declaring war on Vichy. So the UK or the Commonwealth has to pay a 10 IPP penalty, which we're doing here, and the UK proper is going to absorb that full 10 IPP themselves. And then the U.S. also has to pay a 10 IPP, which they will be paying on Knights Templar's turn. And so now this aligns Vichy to the Germans and replace the Vichy units on the board with German. It doesn't affect German income because they're already collecting the money for Vichy anyways, but it'll just turn the Vichy units to German. So that's 10. Then we're buying a fighter for 10, 2 artillery for 8, and a militia for 2. So that's another 20. So they have $6 saved, which they're not going to need, clearly. The FEC has 2. They're saving it. ANZAC has 16. They're spending 10, buying a transport for 8, an air transport, and a militia for 2. So that's their 10. So that's it for purchases. So now on to combat. So I've already been in touch with GW36 enthusiasts. So what we're going to do to see if he wanted to scramble or not. So over here off of the card in Normandy, okay, which is this card right here. So we've got 5 medium armor. So 4 of those medium armor are going to come off the card and go 1 Aquitaine and 2 into southern France. And then GW36 did have the option of scrambling. I believe he's got 2 German jets and a German fighter in northern Italy. He's not going to scramble. So we got those 4 medium armor. Then we've got these 2 fighters in northern Algeria coming up 1, 2, 3. On this fleet card over here in C-Zone 50, we have a fighter coming off of the light carrier, so 1, 2. Then in London, we've got 4 fighters, and they're coming down 1, 2, 3, 4. And we also have 3 air transports in London. If I can get them off the card without destroying everything. Okay. We got 3 air transports. And they're dropping off our 3 paratroopers. So going into southern France is 4 medium armor, 3 paratroopers, 7 fighters. And that is the battle in southern France. And GW36 has 2 infantry, a marine, a militia, a fighter, and an artillery. So that's 1 attack. Second attack is going to be here in Picardy. He has a single militia. And we're going into Picardy we've got these 4 naval transports here in the English Channel. They're going to come up 1 to Sea Zone 11, pick up this 1 infantry in northern England. They still have room for 7 more infantry. Come back to the English Channel, pick up these 7 infantry that are in London. So they're now the full capacity of 8. So those 8 guys are getting dropped off in Picardy. Then we also have 3 Marines in London. So one of them is going to walk over into Picardy. And then also the last medium armor we got that is in Normandy is going to come up 1 to Picardy. And that's just that chip right there. And then if I succeed in Picardy, this medium armor is then going to blitz 1 into Alsace, Lorraine, where there is a single German militia. And let's see what else. Then we also have in London a heavy strat bomber, which is going to fly 1, 2, 3 and carpet bomb Alsace, Lorraine before the medium armor potentially blitzes in there. Let's see, what else do we got here? I don't know. I might as well. So then we're going to go ahead with this strat bomber in northern Algeria, 1, 2, 3, and we're going to try strat bombing Tobruk again. And I believe that is it for combat. None of the planes over here. Some of the, like, again, this is some of the stuff that I didn't update. I know Bruce took Belgian Congo and Italian Somaliland and whatnot, so we're not doing any attacks there. We're not doing any attacks over here. I was thinking about coming out and attacking Siam, but no point. I've got these handful of colonial infantry. They're just going to stay put. So, yeah, we're not doing anything else. So those are only attacks. So let's go ahead with, we'll go ahead and carpet bomb Tobruk first. So we got 3 dice at a roll of 2 or less for a hit. And we got a 1, a 4, and a 12. So that takes off the Italian militia there in Tobruk. So that attack succeeds. So now let's go ahead and do the attack in Picardy. So I had the 8 infantry coming over on transports, 1 marine, and 1 medium armor taking on the lone German militia. Okay, there's no penalties. Well, actually, I think there might be a river from Normandy into Picardy. So if that's the case, the armor is down 1. So let's go ahead with, we have 8 infantry, regular infantry attacking at 2s. So we got, let's get our 8 dice here. So 8 2s. And we got 3, holy shit, maybe this dice is lucky. We got 3 1s and a 2. So we definitely killed the militia. So let's go ahead and roll his response and return it a 2. And 11 misses. So we end up taking Picardy. Okay. So that's worth $1. So up goes the British there. And I believe, let's see, that UK is up to back up to 27, Germany down to 67, I believe. Okay, so then let's go ahead and do the battle in Alsace-Lorraine. So we've got the heavy strat bomber going ahead and carpet bombing first. And then since we did take Picardy on 2 or less turns, this medium armor can blitz into Alsace, Lorraine. So let's hope we kill him with our carpet bombing first. So 5 rolls of a 2 for the carpet bomb. We almost had it, a couple 3s, so we missed there. Okay, so now we've got our medium armor at a 6 or less, and we missed with a 9. The militia to 2 or less, 6 misses. The medium armor, 6 or less, an 11 misses. The militia, 2 or less, an 8 misses. That was almost a 2. Let's trade you this dice. Medium armor, 6 or less, a 9 misses. The militia, 2 or less, 12 misses. The medium armor, 6 or less, 11 misses. The militia, 2 or less. Oh my God. So that killed that. So we didn't end up surrounding Paris. Not that, again, it's going to matter, but we tried. Okay, so now on to the bigger battle. That is par for the course, the way this game has gone for the Allies. So in southern France, we've got 7 fighters, 4 medium armor, and 3 paratroopers. So he has got 2 regular infantry, and the Marine, I believe, defends it the same, so I'm just going to count him together. So 3 regular infantry, a militia, a fighter, and an artillery. So his artillery is going to get first strike. I'm not crossing any mountains or rivers or anything like that, so there shouldn't be any penalties there. So we're going to go ahead with his artillery first strike first, and he needs a 3 or less, and a 9 misses. So we're done with first strike. So now my paratroopers on this first round attack at a 3. Then it'll drop down to a 2. The 4 medium armor are going to be attacking at 6s. The 7 fighters at 6s. And for this first round with air superiority with fighters, we need to take casualties from both sides for fighters. So let's go ahead and roll my 7 fighters first and see if we get any hits. We better. Okay, so we get 7 6s with my fighters. And we got a 1, a 3, a 4, and a 1. So we missed on 3. So we've got 4 hits. So he is going to have to take his fighter. He'll definitely take his militia. And his other 2 hits, let's say, are the artillery and 1 of the infantry / the Marine. Okay. So now we have our 4 medium armor at 6s, and he is down to 2 units. He's got 2 infantry left. So 4 6s. We got a 6, a 3, an 8, and a 10. So that's 2 more hits. So we should have finished him off. But let's go ahead and roll our 3 airborne at 3s just in case. Holy shit. 2 3s and a 2. So there's 3 more hits. So we definitely killed him off. Okay. And his artillery has already fired. So we'll take that off the board. Okay. So let me just double check on the board over here. Marines. Yeah, they defended a 4. So his Marines and his 2 infantry are the same. Okay. So he has got a fighter at a 6 or less, and I would have to take a fighter as a casualty. And a 1 does hit. So let me go ahead and take off 1 fighter. And then he's got 3 infantry class units at 4. And he got a 2, a 5, and a 12. So I'm going to take a paratrooper. And then finally, he's got his militia at a 2. And a 5 misses. So we kill off the Vichy there in southern France. Just knocked over a bunch of shit. Well, lucky, I guess the game's over. Okay, so Vichy's worth $1. We take that with 4 medium armor and 2 paratroopers. So that should push the British up to 28, Germany down to 66. So I believe that is it for combat. So on to non-combat. So the 4 fighters that flew from London went 1, 2, 3, 4. So they're going to go 5 back to Catalonia. Okay. So they're going to fly there. The 2 fighters that came up from Algeria went 1, 2, 3. They're going to go 1 back to Catalonia. The 3 air transports went 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They're going to fly back to London. Let's see. What else did we have? We had the heavy strat bomber, and that's going to fly back to London as well, that attacked Alsace, Lorraine. And then our regular strat bomber that went 1, 2, 3 to Tobruk, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and land in Catalonia as well. That was coming from an air base in northern Algeria, so that should be sufficient for movement there. Also non-combat, we're going to have our 2 fighters that the Australians provided, and they are going to come 1, 2. Let's see, how do we want to do this? We only got a movement of 4, so this actually isn't going to work, I don't think. 1, 2, yeah. So forget it. They're just going to stay in Nubia. Oh, we have a movement of 5, don't we? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. So yeah, I forgot. We have long-range aircraft. So we got a movement of 5. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and land in northern Algeria with those 2 Anzac fighters. And that is it for the UK. So on to unit placement. So we're going to place, we bought a fighter. That's going to go down in London. And we bought 2 more artillery, which we're putting in our minor factory in Normandy. And then we're also putting the militia we bought in Normandy. And that's it for the UK proper. Anzac, we've got a militia and an air transport. So the militia is going to go down here in New Guinea, and the air transport is going to go down in Sydney down there. And that's it. So that'll finish off the UK. Just for argument's sake, they're at $28, no bonuses. They saved 6, so that's 34. Plus, let's just go ahead and roll. Make everything nice and official. So 34 plus 5, so 39. So if the game was to continue, they'd have 39. FEC's at 2, they saved 2, so that's 4. Anzac's at 7, and they saved 6, so that would have been 13 for the Australians. So now on to the Free French. They actually have 1 attack, I believe. Yes, 1 attack. So for the Free French, they had $5 to spend. They were going to spend 4 of it on a militia upgrade and a militia. And the militia is going to be the upgrade is going to be right where there's already a militia. So that's why I've only got the infantry sculpt out. So for attacks, we are going to go for Tobruk again. Now, even though Tobruk is currently empty, I believe the fortification still fires. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm going to say it does. So I'm going to try to go in with an infantry and a cavalry from Cyrenaica. Okay, so he's going to get 2 rolls at a 5, and he amazingly hit on both of these last time. So let's see. A 7 and a 6 misses. So there you go. Tobruk falls to the Free French. We are on the move. If this game continues, the French would be the difference maker, I'm sure. Okay, so we take Tobruk, and that is it for combat. So non-combat, we are going to have these, let's see, these 2 U.S. transports are going to pick up 3 mountain infantry and 1 infantry, 3 mountain infantry from northern Algeria, 1 infantry from Tripolitania, and they're going to load up on those U.S. transports right now. And I believe that's it for one more. And then this fighter in Triple Tania is going to go 1-2 to northern Algeria. And that should be it for the Free French. Our militia upgrade is here in northern Algeria, so put the infantry down there, and then that's where also the militia is going to go, is in northern Algeria. So that should finish off the Free French. They're at 5. They saved 1, so they would be at 6. So that finishes off my turn here, 18, 4, and 5, in Operation GoldenEye. So now I just want to talk a little bit about how I think the game went and where we're at right now. So as far as the game itself, obviously you got to give all kinds of props to Boston Bruce and Global War 36 enthusiasts. They played a great game. They took it to us early and just kept the pressure up. Really, I'm not even sure they're in trouble anywhere on the board. I mean, maybe Italy is in a little bit of trouble, but how much, I'm not sure. Especially, again, when you consider Germany can devote so many resources to wherever potentially a crisis occurs. I really liked the way Boston Bruce played. I think he learned some lessons, maybe a little bit, from playing Japan the last game. Not that he played bad at all the last game. He's played really well, but he definitely took advantage. And like I said, he was pretty much on the offensive for the whole game. I made some mistakes in the Pacific, letting Calcutta fall, obviously. And I wanted to take advantage of the fact that you start with a fortification in British Malaya. So that's why I was putting so many units in there, because I already had the fortification down. And British Malaya was never in any danger, but it kind of at the cost of defending the FEC and other places. So Bruce definitely did a good job of rolling right into India. Australia was never really in any danger, so that was good. But, even with Australia not being in danger, unless like the U.S. is, lend-leasing units and helping them out, they really just don't have the economy to do a whole heck of a lot. So Anzac was kind of just bottled up down in Australia. I think Bruce did a good job in China. He never really tried to take all of China, but he had enough forces in there that even when it looked like maybe the CCP and the KMT could kind of come back, they'd like temporarily take 1 or 2 territories and he'd push them right back out. He had all those transports that he could just land units constantly in China. So he did a good job there too. And then obviously he's, all the way deep in the Russian Far Eastern territory. So, I mean, if the game continues, he'd probably take just about any territory that has any IPP value from Russia in the Far East. So, and then he transitioned to later in the game to helping the Italians once they got into the conflict. Bruce is in the Middle East there, deep into Iran. Obviously, he's got a ton of forces in Africa backing up Italy. So he definitely pulled his weight, no doubt about it. Global War 36 enthusiast, I liked how he played as Germany. Honestly, I was scratching my head a little bit with some of his moves as the Germans, but you can't fault the results. I mean, he's deep into Russia. He really hasn't allowed the Russians to fully recover. And, Germany's really strong. There's no chance of going into Germany itself. They got way too many forces, way too much money. So I like the way he's played. It's given me some new thoughts as to the next time I might be playing as Germany. Italy, again, when he brought them in, I scratched my head a little bit, but it turned out to be okay. Obviously, the pressure's on Italy right now, but Gibraltar he took Gibraltar and Eastern Egypt, which completely cut off the Mediterranean. So you got to give him props for that move. That was another one of my big mistakes is in Eastern Egypt. I I saw that he could attack, but on the turn before he attacked me, or maybe it was the same turn, but on the British portion of it, I could have brought more units over to defend Cairo, and I didn't do it. I thought maybe part of it was he was going to be cautious and not even try to attack. And if I would have brought over the maximum units I could have, which I think would have been like 3 additional units, I don't think Cairo would have fell, and that would have been that was a pretty significant. I don't necessarily say that it cost us the war because the Axis played so well that I don't think it really would have mattered, honestly, but it definitely was a setback. And as you can see, haven't been able to take it back the whole game. So, I mean, the good news was I already had a fleet in the Mediterranean, so it kind of made the Italian fleet scatter and leave the Med. So, but that was definitely a blow. Same thing with Gibraltar. I didn't defend Gibraltar enough. I think my big mistake, of several with the UK was I was in such an offensive mindset. I'm used to playing Germany that, obviously as Germany, you're on the offensive right from the start and aggressive. And I tried to be that way with the UK, at least in terms of my purchases. I bought like a ton of Marines and stuff the first few turns, which is fine, but they just basically sat in London for turn after turn because you don't have the opportunity to really attack for a while. So I probably would have been better served to spend my money on defending a couple of key spots as opposed to buying offensive units that just kind of sat and did nothing for quite a good portion of the game. But what are you going to do? As far as my partner, Knights Templar, I think he played really well. Definitely gave me all the support that he could have as the U.S. in terms of Lend-Lease units. I like what he did in the Pacific. Honestly, if he didn't really have to devote so much into Europe, he could have built up even more naval units and maybe really challenged Bruce. Because, I mean, if you look over here, this fleet marker right here down in C Zone 132 is this fleet over here. So that is a lot of ships. So Knights Templar could have definitely continued to drop down like advanced subs and stuff like that and really given Bruce run for his money, at least in terms of naval supremacy in the Pacific. But he was having to split his income in Europe, so it made it difficult for him to concentrate as much as he could in the Pacific. But I thought he played a good game as the KMT. He held on there for the beginning portion of the game and then transitioned to going on attacks here and there. And, I mean, they were effective. It caused Bruce to have to keep going back and taking territory. So, and the KMT's got a little bit of foothold. I think they've got about a half a dozen territories or so in China. So that's not too bad for the KMT. And then the U.S., I like what they did over on the European side. Between the U.S. and the U.K., we've got all of Spain except for, I think, one territory. And he's landed in Italy. We got a couple of Italian territories there. And I'm assuming on the U.S. portion, he might end up taking. So we're into Italy. We've got almost all of Spain. So I like what he's done. Madman Dan, again, great player. He had his hands full, though. I think that the Axis obviously applied a lot of pressure both in Europe through the Germans and in the Far East with the Japanese. So, but he held on, withstood the onslaught, and then I really thought a couple of turns ago that he had the Germans. I thought, I think it was it 2 or 3 turns ago when he broke out into Kursk and was getting down into southern Russia. I'm like, okay, well, Peter's going to continue to retreat. And, maybe Romania's open. And I'm thinking, okay, now he's going to have to devote so much attention to the Russians that's going to open up the door in Europe. And it just didn't happen. Like, GW36, threw a monkey wrench into that, came back into Russia, going up through the north. And that was kind of the end of it. But Man Dan definitely played a really good game. I think the Russians are extremely difficult to play. So, and Moscow never fell, so you got to tip your hat to him for that. As far as where things stand at the end, as far as what I was trying to do here, well, obviously I wanted to take Paris. That's a 2-point victory swing right there. It takes one away from the Germans and gives one to the Allies. So that would have been a 2-point difference. Now, the score is like so far out of hand, 2 points wouldn't have mattered. But just like overall, if the game would have continued. So right now, the way things stand, we've almost got Paris surrounded. If Alsace Lorraine would have fell, it would be currently surrounded. So there'd be a negative to Paris there. Not that even if Alsace Lorraine would have fell, GW36 would have just taken it back on this next turn anyway. So it's not like Paris would have stayed surrounded. But what I like where things would potentially be at as the UK here, if the game was to continue, now that we're down into southern France, we're adjacent to northern Italy right there. So now the Axis would have to worry about, well, is Paris the target or is maybe northern Italy? So he'd have a couple of things he would have to cover there. I would assume that, again, if the game continued, that maybe the U.S. would land some units in southern France, and that's where probably those French units were going to go, is up to southern France. So we would have backed that up a little bit, and then we still have two significant forces adjacent to Paris. We now have Picardy that has 8 infantry and a marine, and then Normandy still has like 8 infantry and about 10 artillery, roughly, not to mention the U.S. forces. So Paris still has 2 pretty significant forces adjacent to it. If GW36 would have broke out of Paris a little bit to take southern France back, then that would obviously have weakened Paris maybe for an attack next turn. And if instead he would have just concentrated on building Paris up more, then northern Italy is a little bit more exposed. Again, you've got the 4 medium armor, the 2 airborne that are adjacent to it now, plus all the planes and possibly U.S. forces. So that was kind of where we were going, at least as far as how I thought, if the game would have continued, putting pressure on both Paris and Italy simultaneously. Not sure either one would have fallen, but that was kind of where I was going with that. So that's pretty much it. It was interesting playing as the UK. Definitely a whole another experience as far as having played the Axis in the past. I think I've learned a little bit here, and maybe I'll be a better player as the UK coming up. I want to thank my opponents for another very enjoyable game. It's a really good group of guys besides, the competition, and it's good competition at that. It's also very friendly and easygoing. We have a lot of laughs, so I've definitely enjoyed playing with those guys. Looking forward to playing with them again in the future. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully we put on a good YouTube war. Haven't made too many mistakes. I despise making mistakes, so hopefully we've kept them to a minimum and put on a good show for you guys. And again, if anybody is interested in getting involved, leave a comment below, and we'll hopefully get you in a game. Like I said, I know we have a couple of spots open up here. I'm going to go ahead and tear this down within the next day or two and start to set it back up. The board itself, this game has been going on for a couple months now, so the board itself is pretty dusty, so I got to clean it all up and get it set back up, and hopefully by maybe in a week, be ready to roll with a new YouTube war. So thanks for watching, guys, and to my opponents, good game, and we'll look forward to playing with you guys again in the future.